So, a movie of Daughter of the Forest, because I think that you were saying Son of the Shadows you had kind of planned in your head how a script would go. But of course, if you wanted to do Son of the Shadows, you have to do Daughter of the Forest, because otherwise it would make no sense. And I think instead of a movie, I would consider this worthy of a mini-series, because then you wouldn't have to scrunch in the history, and you wouldn't have to, I don't know. Sometimes, fantasy movies are obviously great. Lord of the Rings, the Chronicles of Narnia series are really good. But those all have giant budgets because they had giant fan followings. And I haven't seen The Golden Compass, but I know it had a giant budget, and I heard mixed reviews. In Aragon, which is a terrible book, so obviously it would make a terrible movie, but it had a big budget as well. And this book, luckily, doesn't have a lot of scenes that would require special effects because it doesn't have, dragons and unicorns and blah, 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 blah. But I think it would make a really good miniseries. You could really do the character development well. So I was wondering who, since you were writing a script, I'm guessing that you were thinking about casting as well. I was just wondering some of the people who you thought of casting, because I had some of my own ideas. They're not very strong ideas, but I was trying to think of British and Irish actors who could play the roles. And I don't know if this is necessarily true, but I feel like with the Irish actors, especially since they're so young, that maybe you should just hire Irish actors instead of hiring American actors. I don't know. Young American actors trying to do Irish accents could come out like the Lucky Charms commercials. And I guess British actors could do it, but you definitely want someone who looked Irish to be authentic. So I was trying to run through my mind for Irish actresses who play Saoirse, and there aren't that many young Irish actresses that I'm aware of. The first one that came to mind was Saoirse Ronan. I don't imagine Saoirse Ronan as Saoirse, partially because she doesn't have her body features are so different. They'd obviously have to dye her hair and give her a perm and give her green contacts, which isn't that big of a deal. I don't think she would look good with dark hair. But the other problem is that Saoirse Ronan seems so contained, and on top of that, she seems very intellectual, and not that Saoirse isn't intellectual, but she's a different type of intellectual, and she's not as, I guess, intellectual as Saoirse Ronan is. But that could just be because I've seen her as Bryony in Atonement, and that could be where I'm getting it from. One of the people who I thought could play Finbar is not Irish. He's British. This kid's name is Skander Keynes. He plays Edmund in Chronicles of Narnia, and I thought he could go away. He could really pull off the Finbar thing because they kind of both turn emo. I mean, Finbar's is an understandable emo because he was married and all that. But I feel like he could pull it off. He has the dark looks, even though he's he's Lebanese, and I think he's part Turkish. So that's really interesting. I think Richard would probably be the easiest role to cast. There are so many male actors of a certain age who could pull it off. Kenneth Branagh, Alan Rickman, Jeremy Irons. I mean, any of those guys could pull it off. Even John Malkovich could pull it off. I mean, he'd have to put on an accent, but I think he's pretty good at doing British accents. I could be wrong. Gabriel Byrne, who plays Mr. Bear in Little Women, I showed you him and you were like, oh, he's not that unattractive. And I was like, yes, I know. He's in some other things too. He's an Irish actor. I think he could make a Father Breen. I really wish that some of the Irish actors who are older now were younger because I was thinking about them a lot. Jon Griffith, he played Lancelot in King Arthur, he's in a lot of other things. Horatio Hornblower, Forsyte Saga, I could go on and on. But he's really attractive, first of all. But unfortunately, he's 37. He might be able to get away with Liam, though. I could see him as Liam being really strong. He's Welsh, he's not Irish. but both of those people have rather, they're still Celtic in origin. Cillian Murphy. I think if only he were younger, he would have played a good Finbar. I guess he could play a good Diadric. He could pull off the role. He could even pull off Connor, actually. One of the other people I really wish was younger was Billy Boyd, because he's like 42, and he would have made a good Patriarch. He would have, and he's 42. He can't pull off being like a 15-year-old. When you were at school, I told you I kind of knew the story of the Six Swans. I hadn't read it when I was younger. It was like a recent development in my literary children's history. But I found out, actually, that I hadn't read The Six Swans. I had read The Wild Swans by Hans Christian Andersen. And basically, this story is the same thing, except for the fact that it has to do with the 11 brothers, and instead of having to, like, sew starwort, is that what it's called? She has to sew flax, which is, like, so much easier. But then again, she has to sew them for 11 brothers. And I read it in this book that my mom got when she was about 8, because that's when the book was published, I think 8 or 9. It's the Shirley Temple Storybook. You should ask your mom if she ever watched the show, because it would have come on around the same time. I think your mom and my mom are not the same age, but almost the same age. So I'm going to flip to the pages and show you. It has that old book smell. Here you go. Here's the front cover of the book. Or not the front, well, the front cover of the story. I think it's really nice looking. The queen, looking evil. Here's the princess with some of her brothers. I think, yeah. Here's her with some of her brothers while they're meeting at that one time. I think also in this story, they come back to life as humans every night, but she can't talk, which actually might be harder. I have no idea what this part's about, actually. But there it is. Okay, and here's the ending. She's being rescued by her brothers as she's about to be, killed. So, yeah, that's the book. So I'm starting Son of the Shadows, and like I said, I was disappointed that Connor actually did become a druid, because he would have made a really hot husband. And maybe I'm having a hard time getting into that one as well, I think, because the character changes, and I don't know, I'm kind of finding it hard to get past Leandin's. I don't know. Something about her kind of annoys me so far, but Sorcia annoyed me a little bit, maybe at the beginning. I think I'm just not used to reading books that are serious. So, I'm sorry this was such a long video. I'll try to make them shorter next time, but I figured I'm not seeing you at a table where I could talk to you regularly about this book, but feel free to make like a 15-minute thing about Flashman if you need to. I'd love to hear what you think about the Orientalism and racism and douchebagginess of Flashman. So I will see you